All right, Joe? Okay, the P200 has a fantastic Sony image module. It gives you 30 times zoom, great for any size room. It's great in low light and has awesome color rendition. On top of that, we have our BirdDog NDI processing engine, which gives you the highest quality pictures at the lowest latency. It's compatible with any NDI device on the planet and just gives you the best outputs. We have our brand new user interface with NDI version 5, which gives you waveforms and vector scopes to make sure you're properly exposed. It also gives you unlimited control as far as color control and using your camera. In addition to this, it sounds strange, but we can do pan, tilt and zoom at the same time. Try some other cameras, they can't all do it. The P200 is a fantastic camera that's got every type of connection you could want, from NDI with power over Ethernet, SDI, HDMI, any control interface. It's got a great big tally on the top. It's a really great camera. How to do with the time? And the cool thing is, for a limited time, if you buy 3 P200s, you get a free PTZ controller.
Three, two, one.
What's going on, everybody? I am BirdDog John. Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to kick things off here. It is 1 a.m. in Melbourne right now, and that is exactly where I am. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Robbie to the show. What's going on, man? All right, let's see. Hey, what's going on, Judson?
Hey, thanks for having me.
I do much more. We are joined with BirdDog Ian, who is at the Capture Summit over in Atlanta. So how's it going, man?
Hot and sweaty.
That's the most important question that our team can ask. Why are you needing this camera?
Now, I haven't tested this thing since it got here. This is something that I'm really excited that NDI did. That's cool. Obviously, there are lots of flavors here, but this is the 4250 line. And our little friend here. Say hello to my little friend. It's brewing in the back of my throat. Based on the recommendation of Senseless, we're going to give a Java Monster a try.
Oh, yeah, Pocky,
We
dude.
got a little Pocky, and I have been putting this off for an age.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
There is a Snacks on Stream mystery box brought to you by my Snacks on Stream manager, Brayton. What's going on, Bugsy?
There you go. What's going on? Bali, good to see you, man.
What's going on, NetHab? Hey, what's going on, Judson? And hey, Kevin, good to see you, man. What's going on, Jeremy? How are you? Thanks for jumping on. Oh, it's all good. Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action. Now, this is weird. I know why. I was wondering why I was hearing an echo, and it's because I had Studio Monitor open. It'll do it to you every time, folks. Watch out for that little sneaky Studio Monitor. What's going on? Hopefully you're doing well. We are back again for another exciting week here at the BirdDog Support Office. November 29th. This is fun stuff. Hopefully you saw at the beginning there, we did a little countdown clock using my, so I have an app called Snaz, which has been used for quite some time over the years with OBS and Wirecast and a few others. So we figured out last week how to integrate that with, we had to integrate that with vMix. And so had a good chat about that last week, and now that's integrated on the start screen, so that's pretty cool. And then somebody last Thursday, Warren, he had sent me a email and it has another countdown clock in there. So I need to check that out. I haven't done that yet, so apologies there. Haven't completed that task yet, but I'm really excited that I have my countdown clock back, which is like one of the things that I really liked about my previous setup, and now that's back, so that's always helpful and informative, and it's not just kind of a scrolling, wait until we start type of thing. We can all kind of synchronize our watches. So now, the stream obviously goes up to YouTube and a bunch of other platforms, and it's about like there's like a 20-second delay, and so there's some timing stuff there that's going on, but overall it seems to be all right. Now I'm going to check my audio in, just make sure that this is synced here. So let me just pull up the BirdDogJohn.tv YouTube page, and that looks pretty good. And it sounds pretty good. So I also had a little bit of an update last week and yesterday. I spent some time figuring out what is the deal with the audio on this stream, because I watched last week's show and realized that the audio was like getting crushed and changed and crazy stuff, right? So I was getting annoyed, to say the least, because I'd spent all this time figuring it, like buying a nice microphone and like setting it all up. And then when it goes up to StreamYard, it was getting crushed. Well, lo and behold, there is a, automatically adjust your microphone option. And that's super lame. And so I wanted to turn that off and make sure that nothing was getting changed between vMix and out. So I'd like done all this testing, did all this recording, made sure everything was kind of set up correctly, but also making sure that my levels out of vMix were acceptable. And so hopefully you noticed maybe that there is better audio quality today. So we'll see. We'll see how you feel about that. But yeah, all that in the name of making sure that this show works better than it did yesterday, right? Always improving. So yeah, now we're back to our standard camera angles. And yeah, it's funny because I was joking, and I think I said this last Thursday, but I've done like a full nosedive into vMix and just like, all right, well, if I'm going to use this platform, I might as well use all of the platform. One of the things that was really annoying is I had moved the audio mixer into like its own window and was like moving it around, right? And I couldn't figure out how to get it back into the dock, and I had to like a caveman Google it, and come to find out all you have to do is hit the minimize button, and then it moves it back to the vMix dock. So that's handy. It's nice to have. I've got all those audio sources now open and showing. You also probably heard with the start menu, there's music that plays on the start and end screens for the show now, and that's run out of VLC, which is over vMix, which is over NDI, which is then integrated from an audio level inside vMix. So it doesn't play when we're talking and when videos are playing, but it plays during those two selected background screens, so those overlays. So that's really nice too. I feel like that was a step in the right direction. So NetHab says at some point you need to update your intro and add GoWeb and his daughter. It's true. Hey, what's going on, GoWeb? Welcome. Yes. So I've been thinking about redoing the intro. The question is, how often do you have to redo the intro, right? So that intro is only a few months old because I was in Melbourne. There's a shot of me in Melbourne. I was in Melbourne in August. And so it's only the end of November. And it's the end of November, folks. Yeah, that's also happening. So more on that in a minute. But yeah, it was the middle of August or something, or maybe it was like mid to end of August when I was in Melbourne. I did that 1 a.m. show, and I ate Vegemite. So yes, I need to redo the intro, and I was considering that late last week and this week that I'd probably try and redo that. So maybe we'll see. We'll see what time allows for. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on, so it's been a busy few weeks here at the BirdDog office. Really exciting stuff because we've got lots of we're training several new employees here in the support office, and that's going to help out in crazy, hopefully measurable, but right now we're just catching up on a lot of the work. And when you hire people, things slow down because you're catching them up and you're doing like the integration, getting them plugged in and training and all of that. But as they grow in knowledge, then we start speeding up and we can go a lot faster than we could before. So I'm excited about that, having some new employees, 3 in particular that have started recently that is making life a little easier. So what's going on, Senseless? Welcome to the office. And Balu's here, of course, in good spirits, evidently. All right. We got a Facebook user. Hey there, longtime viewer, first-time commenter. Hey, thanks for doing that. I appreciate that. I have a P4K that won't boot up over PoE. It makes it about halfway through the boot up process and then it turns off. I've tried different PoE sources. I've tried the same setup with cables and another P4K, and that one works fine. So something's wrong with the Ethernet port or a broken P4K. Actually, it could be a couple of things. Your network will learn, and unfortunately, will, to its detriment, will register PoE allotment for a MAC address, especially if you have something that's aware. So, if you have a managed switch, which you're supposed to have in an NDI network, it will learn what the PoE requirements are for a device. Well, that's all well and good if you have like a VoIP phone or something. But if you have a camera that it fluctuates, then you're going to have an issue. And so the recommendation there is to log into the managed switch, which is the thing that you're hopefully using, and to change the PoE requirements on the switch to legacy. So the later versions of PoE, the intelligent PoE, learns what the power requirements are and then registers those with MAC addresses and associates those devices with certain PoE levels. Well, the problem with that is that the cameras all operate on a low PoE level when they're idle, which they are most of the time. Like this P200 that you're looking at right now is operating at about 12 or 13 watts, which in the PoE world is just straight up PoE. And it's less than 15.4 watts, which is the ceiling for the class of PoE. And so when you move it, though, or when I do a lot of movement in the frame, which I don't do on the show, but if I were to steer it around and shoot sports with it or whatever, or chase somebody on stage with it, that eats up a lot of power and data, but it eats up a lot of power, close to the tune of 18 or 19 watts, which is PoE plus. So if your symptom is other P4Ks are working, but this one isn't, I highly suspect that the switch is probably learned. It thinks it knows that this device only needs PoE, and when you exceed that, especially on boot up, that's very common. When you exceed that, then it dumps it. So I would change it to legacy and see if that makes any difference whatsoever. What's going on, Angus? How are you? Thanks for jumping on. What causes the P200 to revert to its default IP address? What do you mean by default? Because I'm assuming you mean fallback, which is language that they wrote into the web UI. So fallback means if you're on a DHCP network and you find that the camera is going to fallback, that means that it's sending out a request, but the DHCP server is not responding in time. So there's something called it's a ping timeout. But anyways, there's a timeout function inside the actual request when the camera boots up, and it sends out the request and it waits a few seconds and then it falls back to its 100.100 address because it didn't get an IP address. So it could be a couple of symptoms on your network. It could be that the DHCP just isn't responding fast enough. Older DHCPs, legacy stuff, that used to be a problem 5-10 years ago. So if you have an older router or an older DHCP service, that might be it. Or it could be that the request isn't making it, or it could be that the sorry, let me clear my brain here. It could be, the router's not responding. It could be that the request isn't actually making it, or it could be that the DHCP it has run out of IP addresses. Sorry, that was number 3. So the DHCP has run out of IP addresses. So if you have a single subnet, for example, 22255, which of course is NDI standard, then you're going to have 256 addresses. If this network, for example, is associated with Wi-Fi, or if it's associated with a busy network, devices that are coming and going, it can use up those 256 addresses. And then when the camera tries to join, there isn't an option, or there isn't an IP address that gets assigned in time, or the DHCP is just like, I'm out of IP addresses, so you don't get one, and it falls back. So those are all very possible. Honestly, one of the simplest ways, if you've got a legacy router or you've got something that's older and you don't have 256 devices on the network, is just to power cycle the router, and that will usually flush the cache and allow you to start issuing IP addresses. Now, it's a Band-Aid. It doesn't actually fix the problem, but your camera should be able to get an IP address at least. So that's actually quite common. We see that quite a lot, is the IP addresses don't get assigned because the D8 something further up the chain is not assigning them. So yeah, there's that. You are very welcome, Facebook user. Thank you for commenting. I really appreciate that. Yeah, check out those PoE. Check out that again. Actually, that's another thing that a reboot will do on a switch or something like that, is that it will wipe that information. But again, it's a Band-Aid. You need to go into, especially if it's a 4250, change the PoE requirements to legacy, and that is basically just full on all the time. It won't try and learn. It will just deliver what wattage is required per device. I understand why. I mean, I kind of understand why switching companies want to like learn how much wattage, because it's actually a way to protect the network from surges and a bunch of other and like devices that are wigging out. But in this instance, it actually works against us because the device, the BirdDog node, the camera, in this instance is just going to request what it needs. And if it sets a threshold at PoE, then when it needs to go over, it'll brown out. It does do that on, and so you'll find that it loops, right? So you plug it in, it gets halfway through the boot up sequence, then it starts rebooting again. That's because it needs PoE for a certain amount of time, and then when it starts doing a sequence and powering on the image module and all that, it needs PoE plus. And if the switch has learned it, it's never going to deliver PoE plus. So there's that. I'm gonna try and get them to eat the Vegemite. Okay, well, good luck with that over there. On a recent stream about the Netgear 4250, you mentioned finding better results with flow control set to asymmetric. And then later on, you corrected so it should be symmetric. Can you confirm? Yes, symmetric is confirmed. That is confirmed, because that is what all my switches are set to. Pretty good, thanks. How are you? I am doing all right. We are post-Thanksgiving here in the office, and for the most part, we're all back here. But yeah, it was a good few days break. I do realize that the rest of the world doesn't take a break necessarily for U.S. Thanksgiving, and so the tickets were still coming in at the same rate they always do. And yeah, we had a mountain to climb yesterday, and still a bunch today. But the guys actually worked super hard, guys and gals, worked super hard yesterday, and got a lot done. So yeah, hopefully, if you submitted a ticket in the past 5 business days, you should be receiving a response within probably the next 24 hours, more than likely. So if you submitted one today, give us a couple days. They don't normally take that long, but that gives us room to, let emergencies happen. So all good. And yeah, that ticketing team has grown in the past 2 months. It's grown substantially. And so I'm excited about them getting a handle and getting a routine down, and us watching that ticket flow, which I should probably look and see how many tickets have been created. Over, I think last week was kind of a high week, but I could be wrong. I'll double check. We'll see what we come up with. I'm asking because the native NDI5 profile on the Switch defaults to disable flow control. Yeah, okay, so that profile was designed in partnership with NewTek and Netgear, but it was designed prior to us discovering this flow control optimization piece. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule, and this is probably not forever. I don't know, but we have done testing and have found that enabling flow control with symmetric seems to be better, and that was discovered after the fact, that after the profile was designed by Netgear. So I haven't heard from Netgear whether or not they can confirm that or not, but we find that it's more consistent, especially with 4K bandwidth requirements. We find it to be more consistent. So there you go. Binding MAC ID to an IP solves the issues with the P120 going to the fallback default IP. So yeah, what GoWeb's talking about here is in response to what Matthew had brought up about the 200 reverting. So yeah, one of the ways that we can address this is that you can um, reserve in the DHCP reservation list. You can reserve an IP for your BirdDog devices, and that means that it doesn't matter who or what or when a device joins a network, that IP address will not be available. This scenario that I kind of mapped out won't actually be possible because the DHCP will always have one IP address reserved for that particular MAC address. And so GoWeb is right. He's been on the show for quite a while now, so he knows he knows what I commonly talk about. But yeah, DHCP reservation list is the way to fix that problem long term, is because if you're running out of IP addresses but you're adding cameras to networks that are busy, then go to the IT department, or if you're in full control of the network, then go to the DHCP reservation list and add the MAC address and associate it with an IP. And that way the camera can still function in DHCP, which is highly desired in the NDI world, but it will always get the same IP address, and there will always be one for that device, regardless of how busy the network or the DHCP is. So that's a great way to troubleshoot and solve that problem long term. Good work, GoWeb. I appreciate that. Oh, Transmission, you are always welcome. Always welcome on the show, and always welcome to chat as much as you possibly can. No veggie spreads for me, says Frank. What's going on, Frank? Hey, later I changed fallback IP to the same IP on the network. Yeah, okay, so I understand why people do this. I just don't I don't like it because it's way more difficult to like troubleshoot it. If you have some if it's falling back to 100, then you know that there's a problem here. Like we've got an issue. But if it's, because you don't know, does the DHCP have an issue? Is there a networking problem going on here? Because my cameras aren't getting IP addresses. You need to address that. Putting in, this kind of like crutches where it's well, you can still get around, but something's not right, which is going to then spill over into other problems down the road. So you really want to address things as they come up network-wise so that, you can be confident that your NDI network is rock solid, because a lot of people like to, I'll put it this way. They like to get away with stuff that they probably shouldn't be comfortable getting away with, right? It's well, I'm just going to use this unmanaged switch for this show. It's yeah, but you're just perpetuating the problem. It's well, I need it this way. It's we really should step back and just say, how do we do this right consistently over and over and over, and figure out what's needed. And so, okay, you need to get away with, this. That opens the door for your brain to think, okay, well, I'll do this again next week, and then the next week, and it never kind of gets fixed. So I always like to just no, let's make sure that we do this correctly. And so changing the fallback IP address, I know why people do it. It's well, then if the DHCP doesn't assign one, then it'll just fall back to that one. It's yeah, but what if that DHCP had a factory reset done on it for some reason, and now it's issued that IP address to somebody on the network, and your device is now coming on with that same IP address. Now we've got an IP conflict, and now it's twice as hard to troubleshoot because you can't log into the device that took the IP address from the DHCP, and you can't log into the camera because it's got the same IP address as another device, and so they're erroring out, and now we're going to have packet collisions. Now we're going to have all sorts of issues going on in our network that are undesirable. So I would always, the fallback IP, I just tell don't even touch that. I don't even know why we let people change that, because it's really just a support function at that point. Here's how you get into the camera locally before you join it to a DHCP network. Or, if a support guy logs in and you're hey, I can't get into this camera, and you log in, we type in, okay, reboot the camera, plug it in directly. We type in 192.168.100.100. It's not going to show up. It's one more thing for us to have to try and figure out, okay, what's going on? Oh, well, Joe Schmo 3 months ago changed it to an IP address. I can't remember what it is. He wrote it down somewhere, and on and on and on and on. So how do we factory reset? It's well, now we talk about Neuralizer. Now we're talking about all these other. It's no, don't. Let's get this set up correctly the first time, right? Anyways, rant over. There was a chart that showed something like symmetric for TCP and asymmetric for UDP and for multicast. Oh, interesting. I don't recall seeing that chart, but I would. Oh, you know what? That was on the webinar that we were watching, the PTZ or the Panasonic webinar, right? But it showed those ones like in their tests. It didn't show that it was working correctly. I'll have to go back and look at it. What's going on? Go Web, happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate that. It's actually not my Thanksgiving, but for all you U.S. viewers or U.S. Citizens and passport holders, yeah, happy Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving was in early October. Bring things. I move to it. Who has that soundbite? I don't have that on my soundboard. However, all right, yeah, I should. Well, let's get through the comment section and then I'll talk about my integration changes here. I'll set the fallback IP back to default. I mean, you do you, man. It's just makes it harder in the long run. I know why people do it, but I'm interested in seeing this chart. Yeah, me too. Though it's on the show, I think, right? It was on the Panasonic webinar that they showed the differences between all their testing. I thought that show was really weird. Like, after I thought about it in retrospect, I was like, those Panasonic guys were not there to talk about NDI. NewTek was, and Netgear was. Panasonic, every time they brought out, they're like, so tell us about the NDI stuff. And the engineers were like, well, yeah, it's just a protocol. And it was like not in their focus at all. They were more interested in, they mentioned 2110 several times. They mentioned features of the camera that were not NDI related. And I just thought, it's weird. It seems to me like they're not really invested in the NDI conversation. That's what it seemed like to me. It's crazy. It's NDI. It just works. You just plug it in. It just works. Good times, everybody. Good times. I bet they talked about Carios. Yes, they did. Hey, what's going on, Phil? They did mention that. Which it was interesting because, again, anyways, it just didn't seem like that was the point of the webinar. And then they're like, all right, this question's for a couple of weird things about it. First, they were like, this question's for, the engineer over at Panasonic, so-and-so. And then they'd ask a very specific NDI question. And the engineer's like, yeah, I guess. The other thing that was weird was the guy that was interviewing, who I believe was from NewTek, he was clearly gathering questions and not listening to the answers. And I thought that was very strange. Like, maybe I'm guilty of this. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. But he was clearly asking the questions but not engaged in the answers. And I thought that was a weird disconnect between the webinar. But, it could, to each his own. They can run their own webinars. They do their thing. I'm more interested in hearing from people and then engaging in that content, but that's just me. What's going on, MTash? How are you? Yesterday was my 20th birthday with BirdDog. Was my 20th birthday with your 20th birthday with BirdDog. So this dog years, is that what this is? Is that what we're getting at? I incorporated my 20th BirdDog product at my school. Oh, and growing. No Panasonic's in sight. Attaboy. No. Everybody's there. Everybody does their own thing. It's all good. And you can have your preferences. That's fine too. But I just don't prefer the Panasonic image. Their new product, that was the thing that they were really talking about, was this new camera they were coming out with. And there are some cool things about it. Some cool things. Some things that, aren't on BirdDog cameras. But it's still a Panasonic lens. So. You mean all 2 of its NDI inputs and infinite 2110 inputs? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. They were not very engaged with the NDI conversation. That's what I was confused about. Okay, let me sidetrack a little bit, and then we do have a mystery box, Snacks on Stream mystery box today because my Snacks on Stream manager is back from his gallivanting across the United States. I don't actually, it wasn't really across the United States. It was just he just went on vacation, which was rightfully earned, by the way. So yeah, the Snacks on Stream mystery box is here and ready to rock and roll. So my manager Brayton is back in the office, and that's pretty cool that he's here. So we're gonna dive into that here shortly. But I've done some changes. So I'm using the companion app now to trigger some audio triggers.
How neat is that?
On my show, which are directly so I'm using like virtual cable input, and then all of those are being played on there, and so it's pretty nice.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
And it all works pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I just got to remember to use them. But I have like a whole soundboard here. And then I've also integrated the Companion's vMix triggers, which are basically just, they're just triggers out of vMix that allow you to associate a button on Stream Deck with that. So that's pretty nice. I haven't used it very much. I'm still using my X keys to do like the cuts between things, so I can set up different shots and like cut between them, and that's seems more convenient to me. But anyways, still learning, still gathering a bit, but we do have our soundboard back, and so now we can fire off sounds.
That's pretty neat.
And it's great. I really like it a lot. So that is new. That's been kind of redesigned and reprogrammed. And then I've got my X keys, which is still pretty much set up the way that it was before, and that's all good. I have changed the audio. I've tried to normalize the audio across the entire vMix output, and so everything's running at about like negative 12 decibels, somewhere in there. And then I'm hoping that it's translating pretty well over in you guys will have to tell me actually, but I'm hoping it translates fine over in StreamYard, because StreamYard was manipulating my audio, and so when it would be a little bit louder than normal, it would like crush it and like shrink it right down. I turned all that off and I got rid of it, and now it's just raw. So hopefully everything sounds a fair bit better, and we can actually use this microphone for. I couldn't believe that was happening. It was really annoying, and I was noticing. I was noticing it happen when I would first start the show. And then like after a couple minutes, it would like kind of dial back, and that was fine until I played a video, and then it really crushed it, and I didn't like that at all. So yeah, so that is what's happening there, and those are kind of my newest updates to my vMix integration, my nosedive into vMix. So that's been all right, and so far so good. I do like the fact that now I have my countdown timer back. I've got my start screens integrated directly in there instead of inside StreamYard. Everything that you see and hear is basically done out of vMix now. There's very little other than throwing the comments at the bottom of the screen, and if I were to bring in guests. So if guests join me, they will join in StreamYard, not through vMix, which I know, vMix Caller and whatever. I've had kind of weird experiences with vMix Caller. I'm not super thrilled with it. We used it on Tom Sinclair's show several weeks ago, maybe like 4 weeks ago, where I called into his show, and he's using a P400, and he's streaming in 4K. I sent him 1080 through vMix Caller, and it was really fuzzy, like not good. So, and really delayed. I just felt like it was slow. So I was with StreamYard, it's fairly immediate, and there's still a bit of a delay, but it's quicker than vMix Caller. Now, what I haven't tried is doing all of this over cloud, which I should. That should be the next step, right? But one thing at a time, folks. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. So what are your views on QNAP switchers? I don't really have any experience with that. Let's find out. Let's find out what you are looking at. Yeah, I don't have any experience with QNAP or QNAP. So if we go to their website, on paper, unmanaged, rack mount, unmanaged. Come on now. Desktop managed switches. Here we go. Half width rack mount, 10 port managed switch. So starting with the M2106R and going further to the M408s, on paper, they look like they should work. But I don't know anything about their performance. This is one of those switch lines I don't have any experience with. What's your application go, Web? I mean, what are you using? Are you using them for NDI straight up, or what's the deal? Hi, I'm late to the party. What have I missed? Oh, not a whole lot. Just me rambling on about a bunch of stuff right now. So it's all good. Welcome. Thanks for coming back. I spent a while trying to get vMix Caller to play nice, but ended up switching over to Zoom with Videocom Zoom Bridge. NDI for the win again. Non-technical people find Zoom much less intimidating than vMix Caller. I could see that. I could agree with that. vMix Caller wasn't hard for me to get set up. I live and breathe this stuff, so it shouldn't have been too hard for me. I wasn't fairly impressed though with the quality of the call and the latency of the call. It seemed like it was just not good enough. But I have great success, and I like the fact that StreamYard, I can send a link. It literally is a web link. They log in. As long as Chrome can see their microphone and camera, they're good to go. So that's what I do over here, really. I have NDI webcam running, and it just takes a vMix NDI output that I'm pumping out and converts it over to a webcam option and into StreamYard. But it gives me the flexibility then to use a video switcher to its like fullest capability, and integrate things as well as much as I want. So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat. So, I don't know if you guys know that reference. You need to look up nature walks on YouTube if you don't know what that is. I agree. The quality and latency are both poor, and the lack of acoustic echo cancellation is an issue. Some people just refuse to wear headphones. Yeah, and because I've changed a lot of the sound stuff recently with this show, I'm wearing these headphones apart from my earpiece, which I normally wear, because the earpiece really is poor audio. Like, it's literally a reference earpiece, right? It's not designed to be a high-quality audio experience. Whereas these guys, these aren't the best of the best Audio Technicas. I think they're the 40s, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Yeah, they're the ATX M20s, 20Xs. But they get the job done, and we used them at NAB when I was doing the podcast booth this past year. So but they do get the job done, and they give me at least the range that I'm looking for. So that's that's a good step in the right direction. I have better versions of these types of microphone or headphones in my office. But if I'm checking the audio stream, which I just did on YouTube, I get the full resonance of my voice and this microphone and all that sort of good stuff. So, let me know how you guys feel about vMix Caller. I'm always interested to hear differing opinions, and I will not kick you off the platform if you disagree with me. I promise you that. You can tell it's NDI because of the way. Oh, well done, my friend. Love it. I can never get clients to use vMix Caller. It's Zoom 95% of the time. Interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, Zoom has its advantages, right? It's just people are they're already using it, and so that's what makes it so simple. Actually, that's one of the adaptation pieces that the conversations we have regularly is like, how do we get people just to get familiar with NDI? Because once they are, then they're hooked. Like, that's really the catch. People, and like, look, a lot of you guys are here in the chat. You know the flexibility and the ease of NDI, but to introduce new technology, especially to people who've been in the industry for 30 years, it's hard to pull them away from the SDI world or the 2110 world. And show them the light of NDI, but we do what we can. Hey, what's going on, BirdDog CJ? How are you, man? Good to see you. You can adjust the quality of vMix calls up to 4 megs, and yeah, you have to wear headphones usually. It's great for producing shows because you can have the director's channel talk to people on vMix calls separately from each other. And so there is a time and a place, as is the motto of vMix. There is a time and a place, right, CJ? Now, CJ is, and Jake are some of my vMix fanboys. And so he would know if there's a feature about vMix that I am missing, CJ will be able to vouch for it. So it's all good. I appreciate that. And yes, the option to have a green room, and obviously I'm self-producing here. Shocker, everybody. This is all one-man band for now until we get so massive, until this show just has so much traction that we have to have a producer running the show and I'm just free to wheel and deal. Prediction, it will never get that way. I'm fine if it does, but yeah, it's kind of one of those, like, really, it's one of those shows that you kind of have to be in the swimming pool, the NDI world to have any interest in. I get that. It's not for everybody. I get people on Facebook that are like, I have no idea what this is, but congratulations. And it's like, well, that's the point. We're supposed to be teaching you what this is, right? Yes, that's how I was sending it to the guests, and I was working with. Having to explain what the various buttons did was enough to throw some people off. Interesting. I've done some testing with SRT. I sent an SRT feed from a separate network to my Wowza server and received it on a custom-made Raspberry Pi SRT player. Latency was about 300 milliseconds. With QNAP, just a friend was asking, so I thought about asking an expert. Well, I don't know what you're doing asking that question here. There are no experts, just, as NetHab says, just us chickens. Yeah, I don't have any specific exposure with that brand. Again, on paper, now be careful because a lot of switches on paper look like they're good. Okay. Here's looking at you, Cisco 2960. But you really have to test them out and get them into a sandbox environment and make sure they're going to work for you before, like, going full tilt into buying a fleet of switches to run your NDI backbone. Obviously, I'm going to recommend things that I've used in the past. Netgear 4250, just to name one, because that's what we use here in the office, and we get really reliable results. And we use them every day, and I customize them probably every other week and run tests on it and all that sort of good stuff. So there you go. That's interesting about your SRT testing. 300 milliseconds is pretty good. I mean, it's funny because whenever, like, I send video, we'll do a test. I'll send video over to Melbourne or bring their video over to here, and we get varying results depending on the day and the time and the quality and a bunch of things. But I'm always like, wow, this is great. Like, these speeds are, and I'll say it, and then, the engineers will be like, don't publish that because we can't guarantee everybody's going to have the exact same internet connection and results and whatever. So they got to be a little careful. But that's pretty cool that you can send it over to a Raspberry Pi. That's pretty nice. We should do a scripting day on vMix. Well, come on down, CJ. Anytime. Be happy to have you on for you to school me on all the things that I don't know about vMix that are sitting in the wings that I could be using that I'm currently not. I got a whole row of X keys that are just waiting for cool things to be integrated with it, right? So let me know, man. Always happy to have a chat. It does have Link in the name. I'm sure it's fine. Oh boy. Yeah, we gotta be careful there. You guys know my little quirks. I don't buy things that have Link in the name. Now, to be fair, I do buy routers with Link in the name, but that's their only function. They don't do anything else. They don't run the DHCP. They don't do it. They're just literally the WAN interface for the exposed internet and flip it over to the actual LAN network. I have done that, and the 2 units that I have in those environments, for the week that I use them, they perform just fine. But they were not a DHCP service, and they were not governing my network, and they certainly weren't doing any switching. They were just translating. They're doing the NAT translation, or the network address translation. Sorry. I recently had to work a show remotely and use SRT to bring a program feed into my living room. Latency was sub-second. I tried to use NewTek NDI bridge, but it wouldn't stay connected. Interesting. I'd be interested to hear more about that experiment because. So, what did you end up doing? What was the solution? That SRT test makes me think more about Silicon 2 update. Peplink. What about Silicon 2 update? What would you like to talk about? If I had something to share, I definitely would. But unfortunately, I don't have much more to share on that. Wow, it is already 11:45 over here, folks. Man, it's no wonder these shows easily go hour and a half, 2 hours, because we just get talking and sharing things on here, and I get ranting about stuff, and yeah, time just goes on by. Let's go ahead and run this mystery box.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, God, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Yep, it is that time again, folks. Good old Snacks on Stream. Hopefully you're ready for this. My Snacks on Stream manager, Brayton, has brought me a mystery box. I don't know what's inside here. And so we are going to give this a try. Let's see what it is. Now, this I suspect, yes. This I suspect these are snacks from Australia. So Balu got like a try all these treats from Australia package, and that's where all of these have come from. So I'm pretty excited about that. Let's take a look here. Shapes Originals barbecue flavor that you can see is the claim here. Okay, one package is one serving size, and we're looking at what? What is the calorie count? Energy 515 kilojoules. All right, so we're going to have to convert that. And that's about all they've got on here. A little bit of protein, 6 grams of fat. Yikes. So for a little bit from saturation. Carbs, fair bit. Dietary fiber, we've got barely any. And sodium, 171 milligrams. So there's that. They are made with wheat flour, vegetable oil, starch, wheat, salt, tomato powder, and so on. So Shapes, oven baked, not fried. That's supposed to be like healthy or something. And the health star rating is 2 out of 5. That's what that says. So 2 out of 5, folks. Awesome. And then I'm really excited to try this. This is called Cherry Ripe. I'm not too sure exactly what that is. I suspect it's chocolate because it's made by Cadbury. And then this I have actually had before. I had these in the Melbourne office, and they're excellent. It's like a chocolate toffee something or other. What is it called here? Fantails? Allen's Fantails. So I'm pretty excited about that. So let's give Shapes a try, and we'll get back to the chat. So the pizza ones are the best, is what Phil is letting me know here. Phil says the pizza ones are the best. These ones are barbecue. They smell all right. Ooh. Got a good crunch. Actually, yeah, those are great. Yeah, that's really good. They're basically what we would call here in the States crackers. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. Good stuff. Okay. Hey, what's the latest regarding pod? Well, the latest is we're working on it. They had one at Zoomtopia, as I recall. And I've heard rumors that some of our sales guys have one as a way to demo things. And so here's hoping. I'm not too sure if Phil has one. Maybe Phil could let me know if he's got one. I don't have one, as well as a 240. And if you tune in tomorrow to the one and only Eastern Shore Broadcasting, this is Tom Sinclair's show, and he apparently has a 240 he's going to unbox tomorrow. So be sure that you subscribe to his channel over on YouTube at Eastern Shore Broadcasting, also known as The Streaming Idiots. Yeah, they're hanging out tomorrow, and they're going to unbox that, I guess. So that's pretty cool. And I meant to say,
That's pretty neat.
my main streaming machine bridges itself into my home LAN via WireGuard. From there, I can control vMix over VNC or the web controller, as well as bring SRT feeds into my LAN. That's cool. I can also connect my cell phone or tablet to said WireGuard VPN and view SRT feeds that way. Yeah, that's pretty stinking cool. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty nice. Well done. That sounds like something that would be very, I'd be very nerdy about if I had that set up. Well done. A mystery called Silicone 2. Talk anything. Tell us anything about it. Well, it's going to be a whole bunch of different sort of video formats. However, I believe I'm allowed to say we are going to be launching it in stages. And so there'll be certain protocols that will be launched first. I don't know where they're at on that project. I have no idea. They haven't updated me yet. And probably going to find out more on Thursday as to what the roadmap of that looks like, Thursday night or afternoon, so after Thursday's show. But yeah, I don't know. And they haven't given me, the engineers haven't given me an update yet on Silicon 2 or where they're at on that. And so hoping to hear something more. Now, the guy that runs QA is out for a week or so. And so my regular updates, the place I normally get my updates from, that guy is on vacation for a week. So up in Sydney, actually, as I recall. He works at the Melbourne office, but he's up in Sydney. So hopefully next week I'll get an update from him, and we'll be able to kind of follow up a little bit with that. Find out where else we're at with Silicone 2. Wait. It brags about how unhealthy it is? Actually, I think the Australian marketing requires you to put a nutrition star on it. And so it actually says, like, just because they're oven baked and not fried doesn't make them healthy. I mean, take that, marketing shenanigans. I love cherry ripes. I got a bag of them here with me. Nice. I should have gone and bought some in Australia, evidently, although they would have been gone like on the plane ride home, I'm sure. It occurs to me that I didn't try tunneling NDI bridge over WireGuard. I should see if that will play nice. Other people are having similar issues, though. NewTek is blaming vMix. Ah, yes. The never-ending pointing the finger game. That's been, I mean, to be honest, everybody's guilty of it, unfortunately. It sucks, but everyone is guilty of it. I sent Sanaya to bed before she could come and see it. You eat candy, and she's asking me for the same meta. Ah, that's a wise move, my friend. Yes, me eating snacks on stream probably isn't helping you try to get your kids to sleep. This show crosses all sorts of country boundaries and everything, you know. GoWeb is in India. I'm here in Michigan. Got some guys that check in London. Phil's over in the UK. And occasionally we have people that check in with us in Australia, which is like midnight right now, right? Or it's 4 in the morning. These time zone things, they're killing me. Time changes. Nope, I don't have one. He means a pod. That's interesting. You probably should. He will agree with me. Don't worry. It's delightfully nerdy and open sourcey, and it makes me happy. Excellent. That's the way it should be, my friend. That is definitely the way it should be. We recently picked up several desktop-sized 10-port 4250 switches. I highly recommend them. Same performance as the rack-sized units, but it fits in a backpack. Power supply is a brick, as expected. Yes, so those units were the ones that they launched at NAB in April. They announced them. John Hinkle, he was coming to the booth to have a podcast discussion with me about Netgear, and he's like, "Oh, I'll bring the new desktop switch." And then he came to the booth and he's like, "There's no way I could get it off that booth because it was in such high demand. Everybody was very interested in it." So that's great. I'm glad to hear that it has the same performance, that they didn't downscale the chipset, that it's the same one as the rest of the 4250 fleet. It's just in a smaller package. That I'm happy with, because the current, like the 4212 is the entry-level 8-port switch, right? That's the 1 gig version, and that thing has pretty good performance. And so if it's that performance in a smaller package, I'm all about that for sure. WireGuard VPN is awesome, but a pain to set up. Did you have it set up on a Raspberry Pi? Ooh, good question. Absolutely. I need some pods for ISE, which is about 8 weeks away. Man, that's crazy. I forgot that ISE is before NAB. Man, you're a busy boy over there, man. The 10-port 4250 news is wonderful to hear. I have been waiting for feedback. Yes, Senseless would have been waiting too, because he's the guy that hears about all of that. So yes, the 4250 is now in a desktop form, and from what I'm hearing, it's actually available, which is amazing, because that was their problem. Is they launched it, everybody was hyped about it, you couldn't get one. So I'm glad that you have your hands on some of them. Hi, John. Hi, Facebook user. Sorry, Facebook doesn't bring in who is actually typing, and so it shows it on Facebook, but sometimes it doesn't bring it in here. So hello. Hopefully you're doing well. I have it running on an old Core i5 machine. I do have a few Pis, but I needed a bit more power for some other tasks. Interesting. All right, well, I could keep eating these shapes. These are really good. But I should probably transition over, because I've got 3 minutes left into the regular scheduled program. Don't worry, folks. If you stick around long enough, you'll see me eat all of this stuff. We were able to migrate our custom profiles from the rack unit to the desktop ones via Engage. Nice. I installed Engage on this machine, and I get it. I get it. I can't. Well, anyways, I get it. I hope there's more coming, is really what I mean to say. All right, this is that cherry. What is it called? Cherry ripe? Cherry ripe. What is that, like coconut? I probably should read what I'm about to eat before I eat it, in case I'm allergic to something, which I probably won't be. It is coconut. Oh, my wife would hate this. But it's excellent. If you like coconut, if you like cherries and chocolate, giddy up. Good stuff. That's great that you're able to migrate those over, because one of the worst things is having a whole bunch of VPN or a whole bunch of VLANs on one switch and having to replicate it. I did that in April, and it took me forever. So Engage will allow us to do that a lot faster and efficiently. We just have to have all the switches online, which is fine. We could arrange that. The 4250 UI could definitely use some polishing. I think the Engage piece needs a little polishing, but the 4250 UI is better than any UI that I know of. Like, I think it's simpler than Ubiquiti's, which is like purely non-networking interface. That's what it's for. So, all right, here's that like caramel chew. Yep. So good. Yeah. Big fan of that. Make sure that you're updated to the latest version of Engage. The older ones were clunky. Yeah, when it went live, that's when I grabbed it. It was a few weeks ago. Like, well, it's probably like a month ago now. Well, there he is, Mr. Sinclair. How are you, Tom? Good to see you, man. And yes, I've already plugged your show once already, unboxing a 240 ahead of BirdDog support, mind you. I'm not jealous. Not at all. Anyway, so let's tune in tomorrow to Tom's show, Streaming Idiots, or Eastern Shore Broadcasting if you're just Googling them. And yeah, that'll stay classy, Tom. Yeah, I'm a little jealous. A little hurt. Yeah, Tom gets preferential treatment over me. But then again, I'm not really that surprised. DHCP reservations in particular are awful to set up on the M4250. I agree. And that's not available in the user interface yet. So as far as I know, I should probably double check that before I say that too many more times. It's easy to set up a VPN with a public static IP, but network service providers these days don't provide that. It's true. They don't. They're very reluctant to, at least. I'll check, but I should be running the newest version. Everybody says, "Hi, Tom." Go. It's a struggle, he says. Yeah. Well, it's only Tuesday, brother. Hang on there. So there's a few more to go. When Tom has an issue with the brand new P240, it would be a shame if he had to put in a ticket only for the support department to not have one to replicate the error. Wouldn't it be a shame? I agree. Well, that's all right. We'll just watch Tom unbox it and struggle if there's a problem. You can do it on the non-AV UI. Yes, and I have a training video on how to do that in the main, the main network login. That is where that's done, but it's a bit clunky, a little bit clunky to do the. It's okay. It's apparently Netgear reassured me that the DHCP reservation stuff is coming to the other side, but they just don't know when. So here's hoping. Here's hoping. An idiot having struggles? Who would have thought? I mean, it's a great safety net that you set up for yourself, Tom. The fact that you just say, well, we're all idiots, and so if I screw it up, well, what do you expect? Right? That's a great premise. It's well thought out. I don't know, I think there's something more than just streaming idiots. I think that safety net is well planned. Hey, you ever get your hands on Shapes? Shapes Original, the barbecue flavor, pretty good. Now, Phil Lane, who you should trust more than me, recommends the pizza flavor one. So, if you're ever in Australia, there you go. The new snack. Always lower the expectations. Man, I've been trying to say that for a long time. People love to promise the moon, and you think like, no, let's promise some things we can deliver on. And then exceed those expectations, right? Isn't that Walt Disney? Set the expectations of the customer and then exceed those expectations. That's the best way to win friends. The test was very successful. I had a fail finally. Uh-oh. I'm sorry to hear that. I landed to your testing stream yesterday. Hoping test was successful. Oh. Yes, I actually saw that testing stream. We were talking about Tom's stream now. So yeah, if you follow Tom's channel, he's got a huge following. He's like, this is the godfather of streaming in this world. He was running a test yesterday and was trying to get something to fail, but it was a pre-recorded show. And when I logged into it, I was like, wait, this isn't live. That doesn't look like Tom. That doesn't look like his set. This isn't a BirdDog camera. What's going on here? Did Tom like give up or something? I don't know what's going on here. Testing a PC in for a repair. Ah, now that all makes sense. Interesting way to test. What was the failure that you experienced? Well, this is a support show. We can chat about this stuff. It's just not going up to, not outputting correctly, or what was the eventual failure? Interesting. Well, good stuff, folks. We've carried through to the 12 o'clock hour. It only fails when live streaming to YouTube and Facebook. Interesting. Only fails YouTube and Facebook, but nothing else? Like, it drops the stream on both, on one or both. But just to those particular platforms? I mean, that doesn't really sound like a computer issue unless it's like uninstall vmix and reinstall. But what would throw that? Because it's just you connect it to the service. It's not like, so if it's dropping those specific services, weird. Yeah, I popped into that stream on YouTube side, saw it fail. Does it just like randomly cut out? Does it start dropping frames? What's the actual failure? Appears to be a PSU issue. Really? Oh. Those are strange things to be connected. Does the computer shut down or something, or does it kill programs? Wonder what Task Manager is doing when those failures show up, right? vmix buffer fills up, and then the stream is disconnected. Yeah, you would think though. Then that would be maybe it's like corrupt memory. Ooh. Or the computer just can't keep up. But this is probably one of your machines, right? So can't imagine it's underpowered by any stretch of the imagination. Interesting. Might be an ever so slight power off issue. Learning by doing. Dude, this is the story of my life. Everybody, people I like, guys that work with me and whatever, they're like, how do you know all this stuff? It's like, because I've sat and just done it. That's the only reason why I know, is because I've sat down and just pressed the buttons over and over and over and wasted portions of my life. It is always helpful. And if somebody's going to sort it out, it's going to be Tom. Because that guy lives and breathes those vmix machines. So, well, good luck, man. That sounds like quite the head scratcher. So you have to keep us posted, as maybe you can let us know tomorrow on the show what the result was, because that sounds like quite an issue. Definitely a good problem to sink my teeth into. Yeah, that's a different one. And you are very welcome. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have Tom hang around. It's like everybody's getting to know each other around here. Well, That's the best way to learn new technology. Sit down with it, break it, fix it, understand it. Yeah, as long as it's fixable, right? If you mess up the default gateway, that's going to be a big headache for you. But yes, no, I understand what you mean. And it is generally how I've had to learn most of what it is that I do for a living is by breaking it and fixing it, because that's the only way it's done. There's no formal training. Like even New Tech doesn't have like much formal training. They have this university course, but it's partial NDI training and partial like promotion of their own products. It's not an amazing educational course. It's good. Some good stuff in there. I definitely learned some things, but when it comes to like actual NDI implementation, troubleshooting, all that, a lot of it is just by doing it. You gain experience by doing it over vast amounts of time. So good stuff. I break it a little bit, but not a whole lot. That's good. Let's break the things that you pretty sure that if you change it, it's not detrimental, right? Trial and error. That's my life too. Well, see, then we're all in good company. There's no, like, everybody's like, where's the user manual for troubleshooting? I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is bleeding edge technology. You need to probably dive in, or just have a conversation with our support guys who basically dive in and do this sort of stuff all the time. People always ask me where I went to school to learn AV and streaming. Always surprised that I've learned on the job. You know, I do some audio mixing on the side, and that question comes up a lot. They're like, where did you learn all this stuff? I'm like, 20 years of doing it. That's pretty much where I learned it. Because, and you know, you refine your craft over time, and so you're going to be bad at it at first, but that's okay. You can be bad at it, because the next time, the goal is to be better next time, right? Always be better the next time. So keep having it, keep giving yourself intentional exposure to challenging things, and you'll probably be bad at it. It's okay. You can be bad at it. You can definitely be bad at it, but you'll be better next time. So that's always good. And then eventually, people who are bad at it will run into you and think, hey, this guy knows some stuff, and you can share with them what you've learned. So it's always good. Especially when you have less work and more time to push gadgets to the limit. Absolutely. I love it. It's a great way to learn. And it keeps you relevant. Like if you read a user manual and then that's the way that this product works, you're going to have to read another user manual in order to change your thinking. Whereas if you can enter a market and think, okay, here's how I think this product works. Let's find out what other connections I can make and, see how far we can push it. That gives you like our sales guys, for example, this is a little toot their horn a little bit. They're great at that. Guys like Jake and CJ and Ian, they have spent a lot of time in previous lives just integrating products across the board, a whole bunch. And so when it comes to thinking differently about how BirdDog products might integrate, they're really good at seeing the forest through the trees type of thing. So it's really neat to listen to them kind of map things out. I'm sure it's really frustrating when they call me up, though, and have to explain the entire map because they've been in it for quite a while, and then they have to catch me up. And how did we get to this spot? They have to explain that a lot to me. But anyways, it's all good. Whatever I do, I make it a point to try and do it better than the last time. It's true. Don't make things worse. Make them better. You can go a long way. There's a quote that I have written up on my whiteboard, or it's not a whiteboard, it's like a piece of glass. But anyways, it's written up, and it just says, you can get a long way by just avoiding disaster. And I like it, but if you just avoid disaster, yes, you can probably get a long way, but you'll never get to like a kind of a next level. You'll always be avoiding the potholes. And if you're dancing around the potholes, then there's a good chance that you're going to fall into one of them eventually. So it's better to figure out a way to not always be avoiding disaster, but, maybe blazing a trail every now and then. There's that. All right. So I'm supposed to go and do some work now. That's what they pay me to do around here. This is kind of just I don't know. This is fun. I like this sort of stuff. And Snacks on Stream, bravo to my Snacks on Stream manager Brayton. That was an excellent choice today. I really appreciate that. No Vegemite in there, which I've already tried and it's already on record, so no need to no need to relive that experience, but it's like crashing an airplane. You only get better after avoiding disaster. Well, that's one of those instances where you always want to avoid disaster because there's usually no parachute. But yeah, if you can get proficient, then it would be a whole lot better than just avoiding disaster. The worst is when you're like, well, we got through it. It could be worse. It's like, well, what would you do better next time, right? That you go a long way doing that stuff. How can it be better next time? So let's wrap this thing up here. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and like always, your presence is much appreciated around here. Means a lot, and it helps kind of knit our little NDI community together. So if you're hanging out in the chat, or if you're just listening in the background, I really appreciate you jumping on here today. Be sure to go over to birddogjohn.tv, Jon, all one word, birddogjohn.tv, and subscribe to that channel. We're past 150 subscribers, which is like chump change compared to Tom. But hey, that's a lot of people for me, and that's pretty great. So thank you so much for doing that if you have already. If you haven't, that's where anything that I do support-wise on this channel or on StreamYard or whatever, anything that's done gets published there, sometimes as well to other platforms, like in this instance. But yeah, come and hang out with us at birddogjohn.tv, and then you can set up your notifications however you have them on YouTube, which is usually a little bit easier than waiting around on social media for me to go live. So in the future, I'm going to do better. Now that I have a countdown, I'm going to do better about running the pre-show a little bit longer, like just the startup screen. So so that you know when I'm going live, you have time to get notifications before the show starts. But I'm going to do my best to do that. And but yeah, until then, we'll plan to come back. We'll plan to be back on Thursday at 11 o'clock, 11 to 12 at least, and beyond. But yeah, 11 to 12, we try to give you at least an hour to come check in with us, hang out a little bit, ask your questions, and cover things off. If you have questions between now and then that are about products that you own, BirdDog products that you own, feel free, of course, to reach out to us at help@birddog.tv. This is our support team. I've got several support agents that are waiting to take your emails. Not calls yet, but they're waiting to take your emails. You shoot us a message, we can definitely give you a hand and give you some helpful tips as to what it is that you can do to get that up and running. But if you haven't purchased a product and you just want to know more about BirdDog stuff, there is a much bigger sales team operating globally. And that's where Phil is, that's where CJ is, that's where Jake is, Ian, Monty, Sebastian, Robbie. Who did I forget? I forgot somebody. Oh, Robert. Yeah, there's tons of guys over there that are working that channel, and they're great with our products. They know exactly, they have all sorts of use cases. They've got all sorts of experience, like I was mentioning earlier, not only just as BirdDog sales guys, but as integrators across the industry. And so if you have questions about, here's what I want to do, can BirdDog help me get to the finish line? These guys would be a great resource. And so feel free to reach out to them at hello@birddog.tv if you're mapping out a future plan that might include purchasing some BirdDog stuff. We can help you figure out exactly what's available today and how we can integrate it. And that's always a good conversation. I also want to remind you, be sure that you hit up Tom Sinclair's show tomorrow. That's going to be an exciting one because he's unboxing a 240. And that is happening tomorrow afternoon here in the U.S., at least over on the Eastern time zone. So go over and hang out with Tom. His show is on Wednesdays, and mine is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're creating this little schedule. I think we got to get somebody to cover Monday and Friday, but we're getting a weekly schedule. Guys that are hanging out and chatting about NDI, and Tom is one of those guys. Now he's a vMix guy. He's not a BirdDog guy. He's not an exclusive NDI guy. He's not a networking guy. He says I leave the network up to the integrator, but he does use BirdDog cameras, and so he knows the basics, and he uses vMix as an advanced user, and so he is the guy to ask those questions. But also, he's going to have a 240 on the show tomorrow, and that will be pretty fun unboxing. So be sure that you head over there. Just go to YouTube and type in Streaming Idiots or type in Eastern Shore Broadcasting and subscribe to his show. And then you'll be able to witness that tomorrow. So pretty exciting. And of course, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us today. I greatly appreciate that. We are going to plan to roll out of here and be back on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Until then, take care of yourselves, look after each other, and we will see you in a couple of days. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.